They say no one really knows what happened to him. They say he might be dead. Others say he might be a demon or an agent of Mephisto.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. Mephisto is here. They confirmed him in episode 3 of Agatha all along. And we, in this episode of the sneak peek, are going to be unpacking what the hell it means. Are we going to see Mephisto on screen in this Agatha series? Have we already seen Mephisto on screen in the form of one of these characters? Has Mephisto been with us all along? Or is it all a red alewife? An alewife is a type of herring.
Yes, and this is the Sneak Peek, the weekly show where we bring the future of fandom to you, hosted by me, Jessica Clemons, and my best friend, Erik Voss.
Hi, everybody. As you can see, we are no longer in the Blue Dungeon for the sneak peek. Things are changing here at New Rockstars. The world is shifting around us as Mephisto is warping our reality. We're building a new set here in the New Rockstars office, studio space, to just make the sneak peek feel more like a conversational vibe as opposed to us being crammed into a blue screen little dungeon space where really only one person should occupy it at a time because, you know, it's more about that person spiraling into madness.
Can you give me a what we're watching real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Is it possible?
What we're...
It doesn't spin.
It does. You know what? It does spin.
Okay,
it's just not
sure.
loosened up. So that's going to be
there.
our Witch's Road journey will be to grease up these stools so that we're turning. I'm just worried about hitting this light.
Yeah, you're
back
going to
here.
cause a fire.
Maybe that's for the best.
Oh my God.
Because it will be nice and warm for Daddy Mephisto. Jess, how did you react when you heard
More
this?
so, you've gone through, I think with this Mephisto, you've gone through like almost the 7 stages or the 5 stages. It kind of feels like grief for you, but not really necessarily grief.
Yeah,
if that
what
makes
happened is there were 5 stages of grief, but
Yeah.
then we added a 6th stage, which is eventually the world changes to give you everything you wanted.
Oh my God.
There's a happy ending on the other side of the event horizon. It's just if you live forever, you'll see everything transpire.
I was just talking to Evan about the whole Mephisto thing before we started recording, that it got to the point where I got so tired of the tease of Mephisto that I don't even like talking about it.
Yeah, me too.
You get a real reason. It's more so me just being like, look here, I believe it. It's going to show up, and it's also not going to show up at the same time. So hearing it today did feel like vindication.
I was shocked because, I have a weird relationship with Mephisto, an unhealthy one. Do
you?
I? Yeah. Listen, doctor, I'm just going to recline for a bit and put 45 minutes on the egg timer while we walk through my Mephisto obsession and addiction. And I honestly didn't expect that to be the case when WandaVision started out. I just thought it was an interesting theory, but I just clung to it and doubled down on it. I kind of just became synonymous with it, and that's due to my own choices, and I blame no one else. But I think that everyone else on the internet is just kind of tired of hearing of those theories, and I don't blame them at all.
Yeah. I feel like also when we all originally thought Mephisto was coming, we all did a lot of research or read a bunch of comics with Mephisto, and then it's been 3 years and he's not shown up. So I think people rightfully are irritated, or at least just being like, look here, you bring him to the table or you don't bring him to the table.
Right. Seeing him show up in Agatha episode 3 felt like a moment of jubilation on Wednesday evening. All right, so let's roll the clip here. We're going to see Joe Locke playing Teen, who we're pretty sure is going to be Billy Kaplan, talking to Sashir Zameda playing Jennifer Kale, a potions expert. And she knows a lot of gossip about Agatha Harkness and has not liked her from the beginning of this show. Roll the clip.
They say no one really knows what happened to him. They say he might be dead. Others say he might be a demon or an agent of Mephisto. But hey, that's what happens when you have Agatha Harkness as your mom, right?
Okay, so I think what you and I see are Joe Locke's reactions there. Notice how his eyes perk up and narrow when he hears Mephisto. It almost feels like somewhere Mephisto maybe be like, my ears are burning. Really, I think the context of this, though, is Agatha's bold sacrifice of her own child to get the Darkhold. And I think this is just one of many explanations of what happened to Nicholas Scratcher, who he might be, an agent of Mephisto, perhaps. When I heard this, I was like, Well done, Agatha. Writers and producers, thank you for giving us that. That might be the last we hear of Mephisto on this show.
Yeah.
Because our colleague Jamie Jirak interviewed Mary Lavanos. She saw the first 4 episodes in advance and then asked her about this moment in episode 3 in a preseason interview that was released. Let's actually play that clip.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this as delicately as possible because I don't want to give spoilers out there. But in the 3rd episode, a name is dropped. And during the WandaVision time, there is a lot of theories that a certain character would show up and that character did not show up. And so, but their name is dropped. Is this just to appease the people who were guessing back then? Does it mean anything? Can you answer this question?
I can say that we were all very delighted by all the fan theories that came out over the course of WandaVision, some that we were very surprised by ourselves. So I think, of course, as always, fans will have to tune in to find out. And unfortunately, that's all I can say about that.
That's fair. I shoot my shot, you know?
And so I, like Jamie, really thought that it was just going to be just a throwaway thing just for, Mephisto heads like us. Is that how you're looking at this?
Yeah. It also is like, and it's no shame. I think it's like, yeah, you guys really wanted it. We're not putting it in here, especially because, which we'll probably get into later, there's still like how Marvel works is you don't even get a list. They're like, here's people that you can talk about and here's people you can use. And if Mephisto is coming into Ironheart, I know that he wasn't going to be making like such big waves in Agatha all along. They were just like, it's fun to knock at it because we know you guys are wondering. The same reason they made fun of Wanda being dead and being like, yes, she's most sincerely, absolutely dead. Like it was clearly a nod. Going back to what you said about Joe Locke and the little like ears perking up, do people in that world know Mephisto? I know that he researched a lot about Agatha and was like, oh, I'm a huge fan of Agatha's work. I see her online. But he clearly didn't even know the rumors of like, she sold her son. Because why would that be online?
Yeah.
Do people in the universe know of Mephisto?
That's a really good question. I think Joe Locke's character would, because he's researched all this stuff. And Mephisto is like, Mephistopheles. It's like when you hear Mephisto, even if you don't know Marvel, you're like, so the devil, right?
I almost said the cat from Cats, Mr. Mephistopheles. No, but you make that makes sense.
Oh, well, never was there ever. I got so clever as magical Mr. Mephistopheles.
Why do you know so much of the lyric?
Because,
know
that
Cats very well.
butthole-less cut of Cats is the best movie of all time.
Go back to how he knows much.
Second best. The butthole cut is the better.
Best. Yeah, absolutely.
It's better of them. So I think like before I even knew Marvel Comics, like I think Mephisto showed up in like a Ghost Rider comic that my friends and I were talking about like in the 3rd grade, and I was like, oh, so he's like the devil, and there's the devil in the comics, and they're like, yeah.
Is it equal to like Baphomet to us, or is it like?
I think it's even
deeper.
more specific to. Because Baphomet is a name that you'd probably only know if you're like following the occult or like the Book of Solomon or the Grimoire or that kind of thing. And it's like goat connected specifically. Whereas Mephisto, I don't know, maybe I just grew up in Catholic school until 8th grade. And so Mephisto or Mephistopheles was just like a name that showed up in like Bible school.
Yeah. I didn't know much about it, but I was wondering if in that, it would make sense that if you do enough deep dives, there's probably a million other conspiracies of other different like demons that are in that world.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, how well do people actually know of Mephisto? And would Joe Locke even know the name?
I think most people in the universe, they just know the devil.
Yeah, and he's the closest thing that represents it.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of one of these things that's based off of like mythology to the characters.
Yeah, 100%. That makes sense.
What's really crazy is that Jack Schaefer was asked about this by Entertainment Weekly before the season came out, and I thought it was going to be a one and done thing. But Jack Schaefer, someone who seems to try to steer away from comic book lore anchoring her story down too much, is leaning into it. And I don't know if she's just giving us false hope, but here's what she said. Quote, with these shows, so often there's something that is at once a joke and a wink and a nod and actually has something legitimate underneath it. As we all know, Mephisto is a character who's very wrapped into Agatha's storyline. I mean, people have to watch, but we're always playing with the audience in that way.
Okay.
Very wrapped in Agatha's storyline. Why would she like give Entertainment Weekly that much unless she wanted us to think that Mephisto has some plans in the future of her story?
I mean, she could be talking big talk and just talking about like the comics and just being like, we know he's attached to her in the comics. She didn't really necessarily say like, but in the MCU, he's going to be. But it's clear that like he's going to have a connection. I think that was like, even if his first appearance is going to be Ironheart, it's still going to be connected to Agatha.
Yeah. What's interesting here with Jack Schaefer is she didn't know any of this when WandaVision was happening.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because people were asking her these questions.
Yep.
Well, you know, West Coast Avenger, and she just kind of looked at them like a deer in the headlight in these interviews, and she goes, "That didn't inform the story we were telling." Like, she didn't really read that. She just kind of trusted Mary Lavanos and the other people from Marvel to kind of like be the voice in the room to speak to that comic book story. And then she and her writers were just telling a different story about grief, and a wonderful story. But I think when she was asked about Mephisto, she goes, oh, to her, that was just like mentioning Shuma Gorath. It's like, oh, I guess there's a villain in the Marvel Comics named Mephisto. Okay.
You think this wasn't... When was this interview?
This interview was when Agatha was happening. So I think she heard that feedback that people thought Mephisto
100.
was going to be in the story, and she's like, okay, these are the expectations. To me, this tells me that Jack Schaefer has been listening to the feedback and knows the audience a bit better now, and is trying to tell a story that is catered more to Marvel fans who know Agatha's comics.
100%.
And I appreciate that. And she's referring to the West Coast Avengers storyline where, you know, Agatha Harkness ends up being a nanny to Scarlet Witch and Division when they have these kids. And Agatha Harkness was known as kind of the governess to the Fantastic Four, to Reed and Sue. She looked after their kids, Franklin and Valeria. And then there was like a storyline with New Salem, Colorado, and Agatha, who we find out is a witch, and she has a son named Nicholas Scratch, and there's all this stuff. And then you find out later that, you know, just as a witch, she kind of serves the demon Mephisto, who is introduced as like a villain in a Fantastic Four comic and kind of a cosmic villain, but then comes back in these other Fantastic Four stories. We realize that Mephisto had kidnapped Cynthia Von Doom, who's Dr. Doom's sister, and trapped her in hell, and just kind of had these like weird kind of connections to the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Four associated characters. And then this was after Mephisto had kind of been reestablished as the origin of Ghost Rider, of Johnny Blaze, and Johnny Blaze had sold his soul. This was all in 81. West Coast Avengers happens in like 86. Mephisto did tie into Secret Wars 2 as well. He just kind of popped up in these other cosmic stories.
Which one, the 2015 or the...
No, so there was like Secret Wars, both stories involving the Beyonder in the mid-80s.
Yeah.
They just called it Secret Wars 2.
Oh, okay.
And then they completely did Secret Wars with Jonathan Hickman in 2015.
How important was he in the old one? The only
Not
part of
important.
the old one that I remember vividly is Ultron getting going crazy and being like, I gotta get out of here. He tries to zoom out and he like crashes into the ceiling and dies. But I wonder, because I was like, oh, is Mephisto going to be playing into Secret Wars?
Yeah, in the Beyonder version of the Secret Wars, like the 1985 version, Mephisto seeks to steal the Beyonder's powers, trying to destroy the Beyonder to win the favor of Death.
Okay.
So Lady Death was pretty important at this point in the 80s. And then Mephisto shows up in Infinity Gauntlet in the early 90s, the Jim Starlin run, as just basically the minion who was at Thanos' side when Thanos was trying to curry favor with Lady Death. So Mephisto's the one who says, "My humble personage bows before thy grandeur," or whatever Ebony Maw says in Infinity War. They took Mephisto's line and gave it to Ebony Maw. So this is kind of like Marvel Comics fans were thinking of Mephisto this way. And they knew that when the West Coast Avengers storyline happened and the two kids were being revealed as puppets of Master Pandemonium was serving Mephisto. And then as a result of all those conflicts, Mephisto gets broken up into several pieces by Reed Richards and just kind of scattered across the multiverse in this weird way. And then later on, some of those pieces come back through Wanda's reality warping and Avengers Disassembled to become these kids. And then you have House of M, these two kids are showing up in different realities. And then you have Children's Crusade, Young Avengers, where Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard are born to different families. So that's kind of where we were thinking Mephisto. We're like, Wanda has her two kids, is kind of West Coast Avenger. Jack Schaefer, I think since then, has started to look into Agatha's comic backstory, because Agatha had not really had a well-known comic run when she was pitching this show.
100%.
So that gave her more freedom. And I think she just looked at every major comic run involving Agatha, and she realized, Mephisto is kind of involved.
But it's not that important, I don't think.
Not
And that's why it's very okay to not show up with Mephisto and Agatha all along. But I'm like, Agatha was just a supporting character. Like, that's all she was in the comics. And with Mephisto even, was still a supporting character to Mephisto.
Yeah.
I read a lot of comics, obviously for work and research, but also the reason this is my job is because I love comic books. I'm always on the lookout for new apps, and once I found Global Comics, it immediately immediately became one of my new faves. Global Comics is a digital entertainment platform that empowers creators with the tools they need to reach new audiences and monetize their work so they can keep making the stories that mean so much to the rest of us. Global Comics is dedicated to reshaping the landscape of graphic fiction creation and distribution, and the fact that it's so creator forward really appeals to me. Global Comics just launched their highly anticipated Vertical Scroll Comics program, which I love because it's such an easy way to read comics on my phone. The opening lineup is real solid too, with content from major publishers like Dark Horse, Top Cow, Bad Egg, AWA, Humanoids, and TKO. My favorite so far has been Stranger Things. It's just a great way to get to experience a story from a new perspective. If you want more comics in your pocket, Global Comics is the app for you. Right now, our audience can get a 33% discount on a year of Global Comics Gold by using the code GCXNewRockstars at checkout, or just click the link in the description below to download the app.
So that's, I think on the outside of the series, you and I agreed that we don't need Mephisto in this show. Like especially after seeing 3 episodes, it really feels like it is a story of sisterhood, of Wanda's relationship with Rio, and unless they make Rio Mephisto,
which we said we would like, we were like, I'm fine with
casting, but Aubrey Plaza can play any number of villains. True. It doesn't have to be Mephisto.
But I also don't need Mephisto showing up in Ironheart. So what is he going to be giving us? Is it just going to be the post? That's why I offered, we did the break room on Thursday, and I offered that it could be like the post-credit scene. I don't need it as a post-credit scene, but I was like, he has to show up eventually, and I know that he'll probably do Ironheart, but there's chances that they might rethink the whole Mephisto part in Ironheart.
I kind of hope they do too.
I hope they do, and they might.
What they're trying to do, there was a report, Marvel Studios has not confirmed this, but major Hollywood outlets have confirmed this, that Sacha Baron Cohen had been cast to play a demonic figure, Mephisto, basically. I believe it was Nightmare. Our colleagues at, definitely not Nightmare and definitely not Dormammu. Yeah. And the reason there needs to be, I guess, a dark demonic figure in Ironheart is because the Hood, is going to be factoring into it, and he gets his powers from Dormammu. So they wanted to have some kind of evil source, and we've already seen Dormammu played in the Doctor Strange movie, and I don't know if it would work in this version of it. It'd be a lot of like CGI in order to make that work. Benedict Cumberbatch did the mocap for Dormammu in the 2060 movie, and my thinking is like, does it need to come from any particular source? His power, especially if we just establish that witchcraft, anybody can be witchy. Ned can operate a sling ring. Do we need someone to get their power specifically from a demonic source?
We didn't. Also, we don't need to give the Hood like an origin story. It could just grab the Hood or grab the gun. That is like mythical. I also, it's not that I understand this. I don't like it, but I recognize what they're doing. They've been talking about Mephisto for so long. Mephisto is, to me, even if it's not as important as the Fantastic Four and Reed Richards is to the comics, Mephisto was a part of all. If you're going to do like horror, mythical, supernatural, you got to get Mephisto. And we just have not brought him in. And it feels like they're kind of just throwing him in the pot now. And I'm like, ooh, if we would have patient on this, he could have came in organically. But I think we missed that train back in Wanda.
Yeah, we missed that train for sure. And I think when people think of Mephisto, like Marvel Comics readers, a lot of the storylines that they know Mephisto from have already kind of been done now.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had kind of a version of West Coast Avenger where Wanda and Agatha, and the kids are involved. We've had One More Day. Pretty much Spider-Man No Way Home was a version of One More Day, and that's a big Mephisto storyline. So now all that's really left is where I think Mephisto should make his debut, Ghost Rider.
Oh.
Blade. Blade would work too.
Yes.
Midnight
Ghost
Suns, Ghost Rider.
And that's why I'm like, organically just wait. Just kind of be patient about it. We can wait. I don't know if Erik can wait.
I'll wait. I've gotten my little taste. I can sustain on this for years. But my thinking is like, we've seen an on-screen version of Marvel's Mephisto played by Peter Fonda in the initial Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie. That was Mephisto, and then Kieran Hines played a version of the devil in the follow-up film.
A
lot of people haven't seen that movie. A lot of people just don't think of it because it's not like the devilish version of Mephisto. But Sacha Baron Cohen is a good actor. I think he could do a great job with it. I just think like, we need a Ghost Rider movie. And Brad Winderbaum recently said, he's like, I want to do Ghost Rider as a series. Yeah. It's like, great. The second name on that call sheet needs to be your Mephisto actor.
100%. That's when you bring him in. Yeah. And it's so organic. Right now, we're just like forcing it in. And I really hope it's rewritten out of Ironheart. It is not necessary. I don't want to see a scene. I don't want to see that scene. Even at the beginning, I don't want to see.
There's just so many things I love about Ironheart and Riri Williams, what Dominique Thorne brought to that character and Wakanda Forever, and none of it is connected to the demonology of Mephisto.
Don't bring him in. I'm literally like, don't bring it. Whatever.
I can't even imagine, and I think Dominique Thorne's a really good actor. I don't want to see her on screen with Sacha Baron Cohen. I don't get that.
It doesn't need to be there. It doesn't. Why would I? I'm not trying to be this person. I'm not trying to be this person. I understand we're suspending disbelief, but I don't need this woman in STEM talking to freaking Mephisto and trying to make sense of this, and it's not making sense.
Yes.
And the devil went down to Chicago. Like, no, that's such a weird. We don't need it. We don't need it. I'm sorry. And
there
we
are
talk about this
stories
a lot.
about broken people who are into the arts and into theatrics and are campy people who love to cosplay and people who are just like theater nerds who are broken and look into the darkness looking for answers. Those are the stories where people's hearts get corrupted by demonic influences, and that's how we get stories like The Craft and The Shining and all these other great dark horror stories, and that's where I want to see Mephisto occupy. Then there are stories about very, very smart STEM students who are engineers who are not respected by their worlds, who outsmart everyone. And that's a story of Iron Man. That's the story of Ironheart. That's the story of The Martian. That's the story of Reed Richards. And I love those stories just as much. And I don't need Mephisto to show up in the story of an engineer.
That's silly ass Mephisto. I'm saying it's silly ass because it's Sacha Baron Cohen. So it's going to be played like, not like comical, but it's going to be a more like, I think I'm getting a Mr. Sinister vibe from it. And I'm like, I don't need that whimsy coming into Ironheart.
Sacha Baron Cohen would be such a good Mr. Sinister.
No, he absolutely
Nathaniel
would.
Essex,
I think that's what
great.
I genuinely, when they said Sacha Baron Cohen for Mephisto, I was like, oh, they're going for a Mr. Sinister kind of take for this.
That's why I liked I don't think Aubrey Plaza will be Mephisto on this show, but in a different reality or just in a different timeline that we live in, Aubrey Plaza or an Aubrey Plaza type could play a killer Mephisto.
No, yeah, 100%.
And what I want from Mephisto is almost like a seductive quality.
Not Mr. Sinister?
Mr. Sinister has this weird seductive quality. I want someone who's like, you don't expect them to be the devil. What's really cool about One More Day is that Mephisto takes the form of a little girl at first.
Oh,
and I wouldn't want
like
a child
that.
actor because child actors just
100.
suck. They have low ceilings. They're not good generally. And then they get older and they look weird and they change.
They age so quickly that it's like 2 years and you're like, oh God, this person's 6 foot tall all of a sudden. How the hell am I going to keep playing this?
And I just think it's creepy when they have like little kids play people with
that are
like,
adults.
the minds of adults.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's weird. And I get that there's like a lot of examples of this that you're going to say, well, what about this? We're like, whatever, that kid was just a good actor. But also like, kids in this industry just get so exploited, and I don't want some kid.
Also,
I want them to have normal lives.
Yeah, I don't want no kid. You can come for me, I guess. I don't want no kid playing an adult.
Just hire a 19-year-old, a 21-year-old to play a teenager.
Yeah, that looks really young. There's a lot of 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds that look like they're like literal middle schoolers.
Yeah. Those poor Stranger Things kids. They all just have...
Someone keeps coming for Caleb McLaughlin. They're like, that looks like a teacher now. And I'm like, don't come for him. Come for all of them.
I'm
they all
so
look
worried
like
about
adults.
the Skeleton Crew kids.
Yeah, they're going to
The Phantom's going to be so mean to them, and we have to protect them at all costs.
Look.
Get that little blue alien. Just get him off the internet.
Get him off there. Someone protect him.
Just tell him the internet died. It doesn't exist anymore. So there's a go on it.
I like the idea. I get what you're saying when you're like, oh, like a Mephisto was played by a young girl. Like the misdirect. But are we talking like Ben Schwartz? Like I'm not saying I don't, but like
interesting. Choice.
That was a different. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. The only part that I thought about was like, oh, like, he's tall, slender. Like come in, he could be like a very like attractive Mephisto. I think in his own right. I think he'd do too much improv. Do too much improv, turn into Sonic all of a sudden. For the most part, it'd be very fun.
I think it should be someone who is because here's the thing: as audiences, we've seen plenty of examples of people playing the devil incarnate.
Yes,
just great actors. Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate. Jack Nicholson in The Witches of Eastwick. Elizabeth Hurley in Bedazzled. There are just like plenty of examples of people playing the devil, and they play it in some kind of human form. And what I would like is a version of Mephisto, not in a nice suit, but just someone who is like what was really good about Andrew Scott in as Moriarty in Sherlock is that when the first time we see him, he's just this nervous, dopey boyfriend who's
love
wearing a
that.
t-shirt and he seems weirdly into Benedict Cumberbatch. And then when he's revealed as Moriarty, he has ultimate control. And that's what we need from Mephisto, is someone who is not rattled, someone who has been controlling events from the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. It's just hard to be like, make Mephisto nervous at the beginning, but I love the idea of a devil that's like, just not confident.
Yeah, someone who is just a very good actor who doesn't care about anything.
Andrew Scott would be a really good. That would be,
I think it'd be a good
so
one.
much fun. Oh my god!
Or I think just like get an older actor. I would say like a
Judi Dench.
Judi Dench.
No,
think
dude,
about
not,
it. Just
no.
think about it. Judi Dench would be pretty good.
No.
Just doesn't seem to care. Mephisto could be played by a dozen different actors, and that's what I kind of want. Like I want a cast of people to be the different forms of Mephisto.
That would be fun.
And every time we see them, they take a new form, and it's a completely different acting style.
That was that's what I did like about the couple of Eternal comics that I read, where I was like, oh, when they came back to Earth, they were all such different people, and one was like recognized who they were immediately, and he was just like an unhoused man that like lived on the street, and he's like, I know who we are, and I'm gonna go find the rest of us. And I was like, yeah, I like the idea of like making it. Would it be too annoying if it changed all the time?
I don't think so, because then it could be like the Doctor. You know, it's like you see a dozen different people doing their take on this weird cosmic force.
I love that. Oh, it's maybe that's too close to like, because there is. Well, no, Mephisto is kind of like, he is the devil.
He's
he
supposed
is the
to
devil.
be evil incarnate.
That's true.
So evil can take multiple different forms.
That's true.
And the same way that
100%.
like Pennywise in the It films, they had different actors kind of play different manifestations of it.
And it would make sense that like everybody has a different view of what Mephisto is. Or like over time people have seen or heard of Mephisto, and the tales are so, over time it's just like so ridiculous, but it's like, oh, it's ridiculous because no one knows what he actually looks like because it keeps changing.
And then maybe what identifies him as Mephisto is he just has some kind of brooch or amulet. And then so once we see that amulet, we're like, all right, they got Elle Fanning to play Mephisto in this. That's fun.
Oh my God, it's Elle Fanning this time.
She could play.
Elle Fanning would be
Mephisto.
fun, or like current day Dakota Fanning. Current day, there's no other Dakota Fanning, but Dakota Fanning's doing great work right now, and that would be really fun too.
So do we think that they are saving room for a post-credit scene to reveal Mephisto, even though we don't really want him to be an Ironheart? Do you think this show will end with Marvel Studios unveiling Mephisto?
I think if he is showing up in Ironheart, there is going to have to be something that segues that introduction. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they don't need to segue it, but it's like, what, you're just going to throw Mephisto out of nowhere? There's people that are still watching Agatha that don't know Marvel. And they're or they're getting into Marvel and they're like, oh, Mephisto, that's a name drop. They don't know that nerds like us have been talking about this for the last like 4 years, because no one watching WandaVision knew who Mephisto was that don't know Marvel. They were just like, oh, people are talking about this demon guy that never showed up. So I'm like, you need to introduce it. You need to bring it in somehow. And I feel like it's gonna be, unless it is a Ghost Rider. Unless it is like a Moon Knight or a Blade.
And they haven't even announced any Ghost Rider projects. So that would be on the other side of Ironheart. So what I think, like, this would be the time, if they're going to introduce the character, now would be it. And we won't even have to see the character. I feel like I'm literally saying what I said during WandaVision. I would say, we don't even have to see an actor. It could just be a silhouette in the shadows with like someone just doing a sample scratch audio voice.
It could be his level of, doesn't he have that level of hell? Like there's his version. And I'm like, it could just be that. Like one of the witches or all the witches go there or something. And we're like, oh, we know where he exists. He exists here.
So maybe the theory I've been talking about of the Hellmouth under Westview, the camera just goes deeper and deeper and deeper under, do a floorboard gag with Westview, down. And then eventually we just get to a fiery realm and we just see a figure on a throne. Yeah. And we don't say who that figure is, but it's like the cameo of Thanos in the post-credit scene of the 2012 Avengers film is like, you just need some kind of goofy looking CGI figure, turn to the camera and smile. And that could be it.
Yeah. I think it's a good post-credit for Agatha all along versus like a movie post-credit scene. It's like it's not like lowering expectations is not the word I'm looking, or the sense I'm looking for, the phrasing. It's more so like it's not as big as Thanos. Like it's not showing us that Mephisto will be our our big bad, because he's not. It's not going to be him, but he's going to show up for the horror and spooky things.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Jennifer Cale called Nicholas Scratch perhaps an agent of Mephisto. In my mind, I was like, ooh, agents of Mephisto, make that a show. Like call it Agents of Mephisto, and every episode is just
It's
someone
Agents of
else
S.H.I.E.L.D. just
who gets
in hell.
tempted by Mephisto to do something in the Marvel world.
That'd be fun.
And it's almost like kind of a horror anthology show, like Amazing Stories.
What if that's the special presentation?
Oh, I would watch that.
I would absolutely watch an Agents of Mephisto, and it is just people being possessed.
Yeah, and then maybe the most successful or popular or rebellious of the Agents of Mephisto is just Johnny Blaze, and then that's how we get
and then
him in the MCU.
Yeah.
But I think they use the word Agent Mephisto just specifically because one of the last times we hear of Nicholas Scratch is just in a storyline where he is like like a Fantastic Four storyline, and then he poses as Doctor Strange, and he like. It's like the Four. It's like from the early aughts. And he poses as Doctor Strange. He wants to summon Shumagorath to Earth. And then Franklin of Valeria banished him back to hell. And when Nicholas Scratch is back in hell, he like pledges his service to be an agent of Mephisto in some coming war. And then I think Nicholas Scratch showed up in some recent years, but it was very, very recent. Yeah, I think that is what they're saying. Like, oh, I guess there have been other times where he has been like a servant to Mephisto. And obviously the name Nicholas Scratch is derived from like a common associated term with the devil. So I think that's probably why she speculated it. I guess I honestly, when I saw that line in the episode this week, I really was like, all right, cool, fun, one and done, never hear from him again until another future property. It was just Jack Schaefer's quote that made me think like, why wouldn't you just say like that was a quick joke? Like,
also,
why do you want us to keep thinking about it?
It's an open door. They're gonna any Marvel, if any if I was randomly writing like a supernatural thing for Marvel, I'd be like, remember in Agatha where they said Agents of Mephisto? What if we brought in like an actual agent of Mephisto? Like it's like the door's now open. Anyone can bring that in. Anyone can pick up from there. So it is possible that it's like we're gonna see an agent, not to be confused with a vessel. He's not gonna be like fully possessing people, but it will be someone. And also that also brings up the question of like who currently is already an agent of Mephisto. If Moon Knight is an well, he's a vessel for Khonshu really, but I'm like that's also someone that's already a vessel for someone else. What if someone we've already met is already an agent for Mephisto?
Okay, so let's go through a list of suspects
that we've seen.
Madison.
Oh yes. Okay. So the thing is, and I've been waiting to keep thinking about it and bringing it up. It just hasn't shown up yet. That I'm like, remember that Madison came out of that portal where there was like heads on spikes and like on fire in a village, and I'm like, where is she? I know that. And then she talked to that goat man. She's like, I sold my soul to a goat man. I mean, yeah, it's more Baphomet than it is Mephisto, but I'm like, this is probably an agent of Mephisto who's just like a drunk girl that goes around now and hangs out with people, but is actually like causing curses.
Madison with 2 Ys, but not where you think. We saw in the closing credit art, and that closing credit art on that show was just like meant to be courtroom art. It was not meant to be like this is concept art that's canon because they had like Wolverine shoes. Yeah, remember? But they did have a shot of her talking to Jake the goat, and he had, "Hi, my name is Jake," and New Rockstars used to have a shirt where it says, "Hi, my name is Erik Voss," or "Hi, I'm Erik Voss," like name card shirt. And a lot of people were tweeting at me at the time. They're like, did they just steal your shirt design just to mess with you?
I think a lot of people have name tags.
Maybe. I'm like, I don't think they're that aware of me. I think they just wanted to find a way to identify him as Jake in that shot.
That'd be nice.
So either Jake is or Madison is.
Do you think, and also that extended, how much does Wong know? About
Wrong. I think they would know.
They know. They absolutely
any sorcerer would know who Mephisto is.
And are they protecting anything of him coming out?
I think Mephisto's on a long list of names like Dormammu, like Kafan, and then just other demonic entities that are out there that they have various spells in place to protect this realm from like beings from hell.
Okay.
But America Chavez kicked a star portal into something that looked very much like hell. The hell that what's her face that Madison came from. So some of the sorcerers know. So do we think Rintrah knows about Mephisto?
Didn't people say that was supposed to, or maybe they were making the loose connection to the one little goat or the beast man that was at Carmitage? Was that during Multiverse of Madness? Do you remember him?
Yes.
People kept saying, "Is this that guy?"
Oh, and they just pointed at him.
I think it's just because he's a bull, which is racist.
That's not fair.
That's not fair.
Keep his name out your mouth.
I'm not a demon. I'm just a kid going to school here.
What are we looking for in a possible agent of Mephisto?
I think
sneaky.
Sneaky, but I also think it's like, okay, so are we thinking Mephisto's actually smart? And I'm not trying, I know he's smart, but is he like more deceptive than smart? Because I'm like, Madison's a great pull to be like, this is a deflect. Everyone's going to be paying attention to this girl that's knocking shit over all the time, making a mess, when in reality, I have Wong over here. I don't think Wong is one, but I do think, I could see someone in Carmitage absolutely being an agent of Mephisto because he's keeping tabs. If he's bigger, he's underground, dude. He's bigger than us.
Mordo. Like maybe Mordo got 100. Lured into the dark side.
Not 616 because he's too loyal. That's the reason he went crazy in the first place.
Yeah. What about one of the maybe Ebony Maw could have been an agent of Mephisto?
100.
Just the fact that he quoted him from the Infinity Saga comic.
Do you think any of the gods from Ragnarok, or not Ragnarok, from the last one?
Oh yes. Let's talk about Thor: Love and Thunder. How Zeus said that they had a contest, and the winner of the previous year's contest of most human beings sacrificed in the name of a god was Satan. So that means that there are people in death cults around the MCU who are giving their lives in honor of Mephisto.
Yes. Those are the agents. Like those are the agents.
Okay.
Those
so after
are
they
the
complete
agents.
their mission, they go, "Thank you, Lord."
Thank you, Lord. Hey, we always talk about religion in the MCU because we have Daredevil, and I'm like, there are cults. There are cults, and there are probably cults that specifically are gunning for Mephisto.
So we have like so many Disney Plus shows from 2021, 2022 that just have lots of interesting side characters. That we mentioned one with Madison, but what about like Bruno?
Oh, that'd be sad. He's gonna get, if Mephisto shows up and gets like a good, like his own, not his own show or special presentation, but gets a good chunk, he's gonna be trying to steal people's souls, or not souls, but trying to steal them. I hope it's not Bruno.
Could Arthur Harrow, Ethan Hawke's character 100%. From Moon Knight, kind of seems 100%. Like someone who, I mean, he I think worshipped the other god.
Yeah. But it's clearly that there's people in power like that, that's that big, that's like, I follow this person, and, well, Khonshu, and I'm sure there's an equal equivalent to Arthur Harrow that follows Mephisto.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. It exists, and those people are true vessels and agents.
So if they do take Mephisto out of Ironheart, and let's say we're still a little ways off from a Midnight Suns or a Ghost Rider story, are there any other stories on the MCU slate ahead that you could see Mephisto showing up in that makes sense?
Would you be mad if he just randomly showed up in Secret Wars?
Yeah, I would. Because everyone else is going to be in it. He's just going to be overshadowed.
And he's just randomly. But okay, I'm not trying to be this person. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, Mephisto advocate. But
I haven't liked that one.
Yes. I just needed one. We all get one. But like in Secret Wars fashion, it was just everyone showing up. Everybody showed up and popped out. Yeah. You think there's going to be people in Secret Wars that we have? There's going to be people in Secret Wars we haven't been introduced to yet.
Yeah. But remember in Endgame, there was a shot of everybody, and then Howard the Duck is just walking out too. If they do that to Mephisto, I'm going to be so mad.
They might.
He's just like, me too.
But that's like, it's more coded for Secret Wars. That's a very Secret Wars thing to do, because Secret Wars is just like, we're picking random people that you don't even know of. At least when it was versus Thanos, I'm like, okay, I don't want to see random people. You guys need to be showing me people that I've seen before. But watch Ultron pop up, and then like just next to Thanos, or Mephisto just shows up, and then Mr. Sinister.
Russo brothers, if you're watching this, I'll find you. I know where you get your pizza. I'll camp out inside every San Fernando Valley pizza place until I find you, and then I'll scream at you.
It just feels, I'm not even, I don't know if I'd hate it, because I'm like, yeah, make them just pop up, make everyone pop up. People we haven't seen yet. And Mephisto would be a very horrible thing for you. Like, it would be like, like egg on your face, but like, oh my God, it would be so fun.
If this Scarlet Witch movie is happening, Mephisto could show up there. I'm just thinking you gotta have something involved in sorcery and people whose hearts are broken in order for Mephisto to show up as a good villain. Because it doesn't make sense in like, a Shang-Chi movie, another Thor movie.
Makes more sense than Ironheart. Sorry.
No,
sorry. At least those ones have metaphysical, spiritual things. Like this. Does not. I'm not, again, and also science and religion, you can mix the two if you want. I just personally am like, why would he show up in Ironheart after she gets kicked out of Harvard? Like he's like, I'll put you back in Harvard if you sign this, sign away your life. Like, I don't need that.
I mean, we have a Fantastic Four First Steps coming out, and yes, again, Mephisto was introduced in Silver Surfer and Fantastic Four comics throughout the 70s and 80s. But does that need? Like, I feel like if they're going to take out any like risk.
Yeah, 100%.
When it comes to this
100%.
Fantastic Four movie, they
100%.
need it to be $1 billion hit.
100%.
And then if you throw Mephisto in there, people are gonna be like,
What is this? Huh? What's going on here? You brought in a ghost? You brought in the boogeyman?
"What the fuck is Beetlejuice doing in this movie?" It would be like having Michael Keaton saying, "It's showtime!"
I'm not even
in the middle of Galactus eating Manhattan.
I'm not even joking. If you put Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto, it is going to be Beetlejuice. It's going to be Beetlejuice. It is Beetlejuice. That is so insane that you said that because it's true. It's going to be Beetlejuice. I don't mind it going into Wanda. I think I will preface that. I think I'm being very protective. I don't even know why. I have her tattooed. Maybe that's why. I was so protective of that Wanda movie. Like Agatha, I'm like, she needs to learn. She needs to figure this out in her search inside herself to like pull the best version of herself out. And I don't need Mephisto coming in being like, but that's just me. But it makes sense out of everything else. But I mean, technically, there is still a Blade movie.
There's still a Blade movie, we think.
Technically, I don't want to get into it.
I don't know.
But
Sinners
technically,
looks
it's on
pretty
this
good.
list.
That's going to be the closest we get to Blade.
Mephisto's going to show Haley Steinfeld as Mephisto in Sinners. It's technically still on the docket, so I would say Blade.
Yeah, Blade, I guess, could work. Or a third Doctor Strange movie.
Oh,
They're going to do Doctor Strange as a lead into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, but...
You don't think... Oh, well, I guess they're going into the Dark Dimension, and randomly we just see Mephisto in the Dark Dimension.
They could cross over into hell.
Yeah,
like, I think they could even revisit that montage in Multiverse of Madness where we saw like 2 different fiery, bone-covered dimensions that either of them could have been hell.
Yeah, that's true. We're talking about the distant future. You don't think... Just... Because I also agree... I don't think he's going to show up in Agatha, but is there any like little doubt that he'll show up in one of the trials for someone?
Oh, fun.
That's why I'm like not playing like a major thing, but like again, if Lilia Calderu is the like 800-year-old witch she says she is, she probably has come across a Mephisto or something of the like. And so do you think in her vision, it's like him that tore down her village?
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, especially if she was living in Europe, in Italy, in Sicily, in that period of time. Like the Catholic belief was very powerful.
That's why I'm like, do you think he could show up at all in any of... Because we still have Lilia, we still have teens, and we still have Agathas, and we still have...
Alice Wu will probably be the episode 4 one, right? Yeah. Based off of they're saying that's going to be the big musical recording studio one. And then,
the camp one.
And then so the camp one would be like maybe Mephisto shows up there because like you're summoning Satan with the Ouija board.
In that scene, there Agatha is going crazy and possessed. She's not possessed with Mephisto.
No,
Mephisto we're eating too much into it. That's true.
I don't think, right?
I agree with you. I don't think so either. But I was like, we talk so much about like, not gonna show up in Agatha. But I was like, oh, he could be a vision. He could be like in someone's like hallucination.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if any of these other remaining characters would have a relationship with him, unless like that doctor that Jennifer Kale got drowned by was an agent of Mephisto.
That's true. That is true.
Mephisto would call someone an inconvenient woman.
100%. Mephisto absolutely would. And then Mr. Sinister would be like, how could I use her body parts?
I love how you keep bringing in Mr. Sinister.
Mr. Sinister is like, he's like such a gross little...
Do we think Mr. Sinister in X-Men 97, after he ran away screaming, is still just running around on the Galapagos island? Ah!
Mr. Sinister was brought to be the like too big of a bad in X-Men 97. That man is cartoony.
Oh no!
Oh God!
Yeah. Don't look at me.
Maybe I keep bringing up Mr. Sinister because I do want Mr. Sinister in the MCU. I don't want what he does, but I love the character, the dramaticness of that man, period.
Do you think he's gone with Beau DeMayo's dreams for the future of that show?
No,
he said that they're getting rid of Age of Apocalypse and Onslaught.
I hope. Oh, they can't get rid of Onslaught.
Oh, they might. I don't know what's going to happen in season 2. But he already had left the show. He had like some outlines for season 2.
He was already gone. So,
but who knows?
They can still. I think they're going to touch it. That'd be crazy if they don't touch on Onslaught.
They end with Apocalypse.
Yeah,
they gotta have Insubordinate there.
And also, they're in Egypt. So it's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, how are they going to get back?
Are you just going to appear randomly, Mr. Sinister? No.
It's just going to start with just Gambit frying some beignets in the kitchen of the X-Mansion. We're like, wait, no, he's dead.
I will throw
or
myself.
Is he dead? Because didn't Apocalypse go to... Okay, yeah.
This is a bigger conversation
It's
for
a
me.
much bigger conversation. Too big. Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot of ground with Mephisto.
Mephisto, yeah. We know that he's coming into the MCU. Well, he's already been mentioned.
He's been
mentioned.
named.
Everybody at
exists.
MCU knows that man. And they're like, where are we going to put him in? I think my biggest problem is more so I'm like, I don't want him shoehorned into Ironheart. I want you guys to organically bring this in. And the only way to do it is through like another, like a Blade or a Ghost Rider or a Scarlet Witch. It has to be something supernatural.
Yes.
I can't just have this man showing up in the middle of Arkansas and just... I said Chicago chose Arkansas now. I don't know. I just don't want him just showing up some random. It needs to be organic. I understand that everyone's been waiting for this moment, anticipating it. But like this guy over here. But come on, make it nice. You guys had time.
So percentage chances that Mephisto shows up in Agatha All Along.
I think post credit, I would honestly, I'm putting my money down on it.
Okay.
I'm putting my money down on it, and that's a problem. If I had to put money down on it, I'd put $30.
Okay, so
And I normally wouldn't put any dollars. I guess in gambling terms, if I was like, what's his name, Bruno Mars, I'd put $200.
yeah, I'm going to say 10-1 odds that he doesn't show up. So like 10% chance. I think that's how the percentage works. I might be wrong about that.
Why do we do
I
such
think
weird
there
numbers?
is a 10% chance that he shows up in the finale. I don't think it's 50 or higher.
And
think
this
it's very
includes
small.
as like a mid or post credit.
Yes,
Okay.
a post-credit scene included. I
does
think
it
there
count?
is a chance, but 10%. No
Does
higher.
it count as the shadow?
Yeah, if it's
Oh,
a
okay.
shadow that we clearly identify as Mephisto, then there's no confusion. There's none of this like, hey, it could just be the ghost of such and such. It could be Nicholas Scratcher. It could be the Grim Reaper. No, it's got to clearly be Mephisto. No doubt.
Okay, got it. I'm leaning hard. I don't know. It's just like I'm more so, and this, it's only me. I'm sure that I'm like, you can't just be throwing that man into Ironheart like nothing. Like, I'm sorry. And that's maybe just a no for Marvel. It's like, you can't just toss this man into Ironheart without us seeing or hearing about it.
I wouldn't like it, but just Marvel's done stuff like that before.
Yeah. With who, though?
Echo and Daredevil.
Oh, well, that one.
Or
okay.
Echo and
Echo,
Hawkeye.
Echo, they understand my beef about that. No, like, that one was obvious beef. This one, I think, is like, I could see them trying to make an argument for it. Echo, you can't make an argument for it. That was just like, you kind of set this girl
Hawkeye,
up
they
for
did
a
that
disaster.
with Kate Bishop and Echo in a Hawkeye series.
I think they kind of gave Kate Bishop something. They gave her like her own side part. Or when I say side part, I meant, or maybe it was just that I paid more attention to Kate Bishop than I did to Hawkeye. I did not care about Hawkeye in his own series. I was paying more attention to Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They did that with America Chavez in this Doctor Strange story.
100%. That is true. That one is true. That was
And
just
I
thrown in.
believe Jeremy Slater on Moon Knight was saying that at one point they were going to just put Daredevil in his show.
Weren't they gonna? Yeah,
And
they
he's
were.
like, how? What?
They were gonna do a lot of stuff to Moon Knight. They were gonna give him
Or
that
they were
love
gonna put
interest
Echo
too.
in his show.
Yeah,
That's
they were
what
gonna
it
make her
was.
the
I
love
mixed
interest.
up.
That was the love interest was gonna be Echo because they had it in the comics. You know how many people were banging in the comics?
Everybody.
All of them. Robert Downey Jr. Sorry, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, even Echo, Daredevil. They couldn't stop. They couldn't quit.
Everybody's sleeping with everybody.
Everybody's sleeping with everybody. And I don't need that in all of the MCU.
So this week on New Rockstars, we have an exciting week. We have episode 4 of Agatha All Along that we are going to be breaking down. And then we have episode 3 of The Penguin. I think episode 2 is actually coming tomorrow.
How are you
on New
liking The
Rockstars.
Penguin?
I love it.
It's really fun.
It's really fun. It's
I'm
good,
hearing. I went to go see Salem's Lot last week, and the people next to me were talking about Penguin, and they were like, "Oh my god, it's so good!" And I was just listening. I was sitting there like,
Yeah, it's good.
They
it's
like
good.
it. People are watching it.
And then I'm trying to think what else we'll have by the time this comes out. We'll have, I think, a breakdown of the new Joker.
Oh yeah, that comes out
It
next
might
week.
be coming out a week from tomorrow when our breakdown comes out. Because I don't think we're going to see an early screen of it. We got to.
I think people are taking time to see it. It's weird. We've all known the date, but it feels like it snuck upon us all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's like the middle of next week.
Yeah. Definitely make sure to subscribe to all 3 channels of the New Rockstars Network. Real quick, what we're watching. What we're watching.
I went to Beyond Fest and I saw the new Salem's Lot, and it's very fun. It's very 80s horror, which is very fun for them to do. Did you know that the guy that plays Sentry is in it?
Oh, Lewis Pullman's
Yeah,
in it. Yeah,
he's in it. He's the star. And I kept watching him going, oh, that's Bob.
Yeah, that's Bob. It's just Bob.
It's just Bob. And it also has the young boy from The Boys, the Homelander son.
Oh,
but
Ryan,
because
yeah.
this movie was like done in 2021 or something, he's very young in it. And he has a baby voice.
Fun.
Very fun. Comes October 3rd to HBO Max. Just go watch it there.
All right. I'm watching the new season of The Challenge, and
Oh my God.
Laurel is pissing me off.
I think I heard you talking about it earlier today.
We now are able to like watch new episodes of The Challenge as they come out, and God, it's a battle of the eras. I'm loving this season, but Laurel pissing me off.
You in this reality. It's not even reality TV. It's more like because you have to work. You got to work for it on the shows that you watch.
Yeah. Oh, well, the ones that I watch, because we're watching that and we're watching The Anonymous, and then we went back to The Anonymous, and I'm like, these guys have it easy. And there's one smart person left on The Anonymous, and everyone else on the show admits freely in their confessional cams. They're like, I'm just dumb. They're like, I don't get it. I'm so
You're
bad
like,
at this
then
show.
why
And I'm
am I
like,
watching
I know. There's one guy who's like a mediocre talent at reality TV, and he is just running the table on these guys. Whereas a challenge, it's like you can't just like fall upward into the challenge just by being charming. You got to be an American gladiator or just a world gladiator. These people are insanely fit.
How are you not watching Survivor?
I know. I'm dying to watch Survivor, but here's the thing. I used to watch Survivor. I think I paused at like season 9 or 10 or something like that. And there's been so many seasons since then. The game has evolved so much since then. I've been just waiting to go back to season 1 and watch it with my wife. And I'm going to take it season by season.
That's
but we just
a
got to
horrible
wait
idea.
for a. Why is it a horrible idea?
No. Early seasons of Survivor are horrible, dude.
No,
I
they're fun.
hated it.
Oh,
No,
I grew up
okay.
with them, so I have fondness
I think
for
I kind of did. It was more so I rewatched it up. I stopped at season 6. I was like, because now they actually are like, it's very equal now, and it's like a lot easier to play. Back in the day, they were not playing smart or anything.
Oh, they didn't know what the show was.
They didn't know what but it was like, I wanted to jump through the screen. I think I'm the number one hater to Boston Rob. And I will never like that guy. And because when he's on Survivor, I was like, just vote him out. Get him out of here.
I know. They all got played. But what's really fun about Survivor is you watch the first 3 seasons. Season 3's Africa, season 2's Australia, Outback. And then season 4 was the first time they had a season where the people cast for it had been able to see Survivor on TV. So the other ones, like they had just cast people and it was in post-production or whatever. But season 4 is where Boston Rob shows up.
Freaking hate it.
That's where the
Boston
other Rob, who has a Survivor podcast, came from. And all these people were now just a different layer of meta crazy who are now trying to game the game.
Yeah.
And that's when strategy on Survivor was invented.
I
folks
don't
are the first ones
know.
to do it.
Half those people joined. So even today, I was talking to John because John loves Survivor, and John was telling me about a new person that doesn't know how to swim. I said, what kind of strategy is that? Showing up on Survivor?
There's people on the challenge who can't really swim that well either. And that's
doing?
where I don't get it because half the challenges are water-based.
If you're doing an adventure show like that, they're going to make you do a swimming thing. You're going to fall into the water.
There's some people who are just like really fit and very smart and interesting, but then we get to a water challenge, you're like, I'm not that good at swimming. I'm like, what are you doing on the show? It's like joining the Navy and you don't know how to swim.
Or join the swim team and being like, they're going to teach me, right? They're going to teach me, right?
But then they'll come back the next season. They'll tell the camera like, I took swimming lessons during the break, and I'm like, good for you.
Great. 42-year-old man. I'm so glad you learned how to swim.
And then cut to them wearing a life jacket, like.
I remember. That's me, and that's me. I know. This is why I'm not showing up on these shows. That's why I said I don't know how to swim. You don't know this?
We have to do swim classes. It'll be fun. We'll teach our kid. I almost said our kid's name, but we'll
Jessica.
Yeah,
they named it after me. No, it is.
As far as they know, we'll do some swim classes. It'll be fun.
Are you gonna have him do?
Yes, he's got to learn.
My nephew did swim classes, and now he's perfect at it. Me, on the other hand, my mom was like, "When are you gonna get in the water?" That's what my mom said, and I mean, she's right. I don't go into water unless I take a shower.
You grew up in a coastal city,
and you know what's funny? I went to the beach with my friends who are all from Florida, and they were like, "You got to go under the waves." I said, "No."
Yeah, that's how you don't get like smashed by it. You go under.
I didn't understand when people were like getting, respectfully getting pulled into sea, because I was like, "Why are you guys going into the ocean?" They're like, "Well, that's how you swim." And I was like, "What do you mean you swim in the ocean?"
Yeah.
You go out there and then the waves come, you go, wee, and you run back.
You can do that too. That's fine.
That's crazy. You Florida people are crazy as hell.
Well, yeah, Florida, there's just water everywhere. There's lakes, rivers, just big runoff ditches, retention ponds. And if you just walk 5 feet in Florida, you're going to have to start swimming.
But same in Washington, but you don't see, and you guys have dangerous animals. I was like, we don't have dangerous animals in the water.
The most dangerous animals in Florida are from New Jersey.
The alligator?
No, just New Jersey. People from New Jersey, they moved to Florida, and they are all mafia connected.
Called them animals?
And they're dangerous.
You called them animals?
Well, human beings are animals. We're part of Kingdom Animalia. That's fine. I'm not insulting anyone from Jersey.
Look at Evan's face.
Evan's just putting on brass knuckles. He's gonna come over here and
no offense, Evan. You are from Jersey. I said no offense. You are from Jersey, though.
Oh yeah, I missed it.
Hope he doesn't watch it.
Hope he doesn't watch our show.
The whole state of New Jersey will send him the.
I think even the people in Jersey.
Thread.
I think the most offensive thing you said was saying the Jersey people are worse than Floridians.
Well, no. They're only bad when they come to Florida. Mm-hmm. Whenever I've been to New Jersey, the people there are very nice. It's just the mixture of the Florida climate with just any other sensibility. The hardened personalities that people from the Northeast and upper Atlantic regions have. Just coming to Florida and see how easy it is. It's like Kal-El coming to our solar system and being powered with the rays of our sun.
Oh, they
it
just
shouldn't be happening. It makes them stronger and impossible to destroy. And then they are so business savvy. They just take over these businesses.
It's so funny. That's what Washington is with Californians. When they come to California, or no, when it gets hot in Washington in the summer, that we used to say, Cali weather calls for Cali behavior. And it would be like when the most fights would break out in my hometown was in July and August.
Yeah, I think that happens. When I was an intern at an improv theater, they said, hey, it's July and August, so there's going to be fights outside the theater. Like, wait, what? That's the thing? They're like, yeah, it's hot outside. People are mad.
Cali weather calls for Cali behavior. I'm just saying.
Well, we'll leave it there for this episode of The Sneak Peek. But be sure to follow Jessica at Lulu_Clemons. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels of the New Rockstars Network. And hey, Agatha episode 4. It's coming out Wednesday night. We'll be on the break room Thursday morning at 11 a.m. talking about and answering all your questions. Everyone take care of yourselves out there. Later, gays.